Welcome back to part 2 of section 3.1. We're going to be talking about sketching exponential functions using transformations. So the same thing we did before, we're going to graph the parent function. In this case, it's b to the x. When a is less than 0, there's a reflection. And then we're going to shift h and k left and right. So the general form is y equals a times the quantity of b, all raised to the x minus h plus k. So looking at problem number 13, this is a parent function for 3 to the x. So 3 to the 0 is 1, 3 to the first is 3, 3 squared is 9, and the reciprocals. 3 to the negative first is 1/3, negative second is 1/9. Our asymptote is at y equals 0 because we're not shifting anything. And here is our graph. So there's the graph for 3 to the x. Now, just for good measure, our domain, negative infinity to infinity, it's all real numbers. Our range, we're going y is greater than 0, so we're starting at 0 with a parentheses to infinity. And our horizontal asymptote is at y equals 0. Now we're going to do some transformations with that parent function 3 to the x. So keep those values in mind. Those are our anchor points. So now our parent function is y equals 3 to the x. Now our value for h is -1. Remember, we always want to switch the signs for h. And k, there's nothing at the end, so it's 0. So our transformation, we're going to the left 1. So here's my anchor points, and these are the values from my last graph. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take each point and move them to the left 1. Now, my horizontal asymptote moved left 1 as well, but it didn't change that horizontal line. So our graph just moved to the left 1. So our intercept changed, our y-intercept, but our domain is still going to be from negative infinity to positive infinity, and our range is still going to be from 0 to infinity with parentheses. For 15, our parent function y equals 3 to the x. So I'm going to start with my anchor points that I started with before that we got from the first graph from today. Now my h value, there's nothing with the exponent, so it's 0, and k is -2. So our transformation is we're going down 2. So I'm going to take each point, and I'm going to go down 2. Now, not only did my points move down 2, but my horizontal asymptote was affected by this, and it moved down 2 as well. So that's at y equals -2 now. So now my graph looks like this. We moved everything down 2, including the horizontal asymptote. Sorry, the last one, horizontal asymptote, y equals 0. So our domain, we're going from negative infinity to infinity. Our range, we're going from -2 now with a parentheses up to infinity. And our horizontal asymptote is at y equals -2. Our parent function, y equals 3 to the x. So now we have a value for a in this one. A is -1. H and k are both 0. So all we have here is an x-axis reflection. So our parent function that we've been working with, the same one, what we're going to do is we're going to take that x-axis reflection, we're going to multiply our outputs, our y-coordinate, by -1. So 2, 9 is at 2, -9. 1, 3 is at 1, -3. 0, 1 is at 0, -1. We're at 1, -1/3 and -1/9. Our horizontal asymptote didn't move here. That's still at y equals 0. Here's our graph. So our domain is still negative infinity to positive infinity. Our range now, it's going down. It's going from negative infinity up to 0 with parentheses, and our horizontal asymptote, y equals 0. And the last one, 17. Y equals 3 to the x is our parent function. Now, do you see how our negative is with the exponent? That's not really a. That's not our leading coefficient. But what we have here, when our negative is inside the function like it is here, that's a y-axis reflection. So we have our anchor points from y equals 3 to the x. Now we're going to multiply our x coordinate by negative 1. So we're at x is 2, so we're going to be at x is negative 2. X is 1, we're at x is negative 1, 0, 1, or negative 1, we're at positive 1, negative 2, now we're at positive 2. Horizontal asymptote was unaffected, still at y equals 0. And now our graph is going to fall from left to right. Our domain, negative infinity to infinity. Our range, negative infinity to 0. 0 to infinity. And our horizontal asymptote, y equals 0. So that's how those transformations affect the graph. Okay, I will see you in part 3 when we talk about the natural base.